Hello there everyone and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of negative die cutting and we are going to be creating this really pretty card that you can see on screen now. So to start with, I am using the Build a Garden Dancing Poppies, and this is really great for backgrounds. Reason being, it's a whole stamp with 4 different images on. So this is kind of created so you can quickly stamp it, then color it with the coordinating coloring stencils, and then die cut it all in one piece. But because they're all together, kind of all intertwined, it's a really great way to create a really quick background as well. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So as you can see, I've just added that onto my flip plate on my stamp wheel, and I'm just going to be stamping that into place. I am going to be cleaning it off between the stamping because I do need to readjust it on my card panel. The card panel that I am using is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it is the parchment cardstock from Altenew. I do love this sticky mat that we have on the stamp wheel. It means that I don't even need to use magnets to keep my card into place, which is fabulous. The ink that I'm using to stamp my beautiful poppies is the Obsidian ink from Altenew, and it does clean really quickly and easily away from that stamp wheel. So the bottom portion, you don't need to worry about it kind of staining your stamp wheel sticky plate. It will not, so don't worry too much about that. You can see that it just quickly and easily removes with a little bit of water. So I'm just going to be stamping the image one more time just in this corner here. So again, just kind of making sure I'm happy with the placement of it before I adhere it to my sticky mat. You can see I do kind of argue with myself a little bit on how I want that last piece placed. So it did go a little bit over the kind of stamp wheel platform, but it's good. It seemed fine. Everything stamped perfectly well, so I'm happy with that. It did need a little bit more of a squidge, but we're good. And there is the whole background completed. Now for the negative fussy cutting that I mentioned, I am going to be using a craft knife. Now this is really sharp. You are going to want a sharp knife to do this, so you only have to go through the kind of image or the cutting process once. And what I'm doing is I am cutting around or inside the kind of lines that we have with the images, but I am leaving a slight kind of border away from that line to give it a little bit more thickness. So as you can see, I'm just going to go ahead. I am just going to cut on the inside of each of the flower petals. If you wanted to, you could also do the leaves, but because I am going to be ink blending the background really bright colors, I did want to just leave the leaves as they are. So with this fussy cutting as well, what I can recommend is that it's probably best to start from the innermost petals first and then work your way out. Please be really careful with craft knives. I do have a little bit of a fear with them, so I was being very careful when I did this, but I did want to try this technique out, and I do think that it works out really pretty, and I'm so glad that I went ahead with it. So I am cutting onto my cutting mat from Altenew. So it does work really well with craft knives, but you could also use whichever cutting mats that you do have at home. So I'm just going to keep going with this, and I am going to cut on the inside of each of those petals until I have them all complete. So here we are. I have cut out all of the little petals and you can see how pretty that is. We are now going to create our background. So I'm creating a ink blending background. I have a piece of Classic Crest Solar White cardstock on my stamp wheel sticky mat, and it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm just going to be using some small blending tools to add my ink blending into place. And we're kind of creating a either sunset or sunrise. I'm never quite sure which colors these ones are. So I started off with some mango smoothie right on the bottom edge, or the right edge at the minute here. I then went into some of the Peach Perfect The ink color that I'm using right now, this really pretty pink color, is the Pink Pearl. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of blend out those colors into each other just by going back into the ink color that was before. So once I'm happy with the amount of ink I have with the Pink Pearl, I'm then going to add another shade of pink just on top of this one. And this one is the Cotton Candy Pink. You can see that I am adding a lot of ink. It's really quite saturated with the cardstock. And I do love this kind of bold look that I am getting with the amount of ink that I am putting down. If you do want a softer look, just add less ink. So once I'm happy with the cotton candy, I then moved ahead onto some of the lavender fields to create the purple in, and then went back to the cotton candy to blend that edge out. These colors were really quite different to each other, so you do get more of a harsh line on this one. Once that's done, I'm just going to go into some of the Desert Night to add some dark blue right on the edge. Again, going back into the lavender fields to blend those colors out a little bit more. So once I'm happy, I then let this panel dry, and you can see just how pretty those flowers are going to look. To add a little bit of interest to the background, I'm just going to add some splatter. First off, I went in with the Antique Silver, and then I'm going to be adding some of the Iridescent to add a different kind of splatter look to there too. Once that's done, we can then go ahead and add the panels onto each other. Just for a little bit of dimension, I am going to be adding some of the Instant Dimension foam tape to the back of my negative Fussy cut floral piece that we have here. You can see that I'm just adding little pieces of that between those little flowers that we have die cut. And then when we have larger spaces, I'm just using larger pieces of the foam tape. So once I have added all of my foam tape, I then took a white card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I just added some of the ultra sticky tape onto the front so we can add on our colorful ink panel. This is where you can decide whether you want the dark ink at the bottom or the top. I chose to use the blue at the top of this one here. I can then remove all of the backing off the little foam tapes that we've put on. And then we're going to pop that onto our card base as well. Again, if you want more of the flowers showing at the bottom, you could have done it that way around, but I love how this is looking at the minute. I'm then going to take the Block Sentiments stamp set from Altenew, and it has this really cool kind of banner sentiment. And I'm just going to stamp that onto some of the parchment cardstock again using the obsidian ink to get that bold black look. Once that's done, I did kind of heat set this a little bit, first, and then I'm just going to fussy cut around this. There is a die set that matches with this, but it's really quite easy to kind of just take your scissors out and just give it a good old snip around the outside edge, leaving a little bit of a border around there. Once that has been done, all we need to do is add a little bit of foam tape behind that sentiment, and then pop that one into place. And then once that's done, here is the card complete. I really do hope that you like the card and that you've enjoyed the technique as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share, because we'd love to see. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.